Hey guys, Coach Dan here. Day 3 of training this workout. It's going to be a pull week, a pull day, should I say, or a back workout. So in this particular program, my structure is it's a bit of a spin on a classic, which is the push-pull lower split. So push-pull lower would be day 1, pushing muscles, day 2, pulling muscles, day 3, lower body muscles, like the name suggests. But instead I do a push lower pull, so a bit of a variation of that. And I do that because that sometimes if my back is fatigued going into a lower body day to do things like deadlift or squats or anything like that is a bit rough. So instead I do the lower body day first and then the back day after that. So it'll go push, lower, today pull, and then that will be the same for the back end of the week. So I'll repeat that with some different exercise selections mostly, or most of the time should I say. So today will be pull, finish off the first half of the week. Day 3 of training, day 3 of this mini cut, all is going well, and we just keep riding on. So this is a different gym to me. This is the first planned workout of this day at this gym. So I've got a couple of things that I'm playing around with, see if I can then program them in and they work well, but we'll head there first. We've got a lat pullover first with this hectic machine, so pull down like this. Show you that in a sec. Let's go. All right, first up, we've got this beast of a pullover machine. So I haven't always found pullover machines to be very effective for me. I can often feel just like a discomfort in my shoulders or tricep activation or something like this, but this one is excellent. So there's a seatbelt on here, and I always like machines with seatbelts for some reason. I think it's fun. We go elbows up onto the pads, grab the handle like such, bring this back, and then pulling down. So the idea is here, we're trying to train the lat, and the lat's job is to essentially pull your arm down like that or extend your shoulder. So in that situation, this is one of the closest exercises we can get to a lat isolation. However, the tricep's still passing the shoulder, so the tricep might contribute, but the fact that we've got a bent elbow as well is a good thing here as well. I'm using this essentially as a bit of pre-fatigue, so get the lats a little bit jacked up before we go to our first rowing movement, so they'll be coming up. But yeah, we'll do 2 sets here, 10 to 20 reps, get the lats nice and fiery, and then head over there with those lats already a little bit pre-fatigued. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so that's the beast of a pullover machine. So first time doing this at the start of a program, idea being just to isolate the lats before I go and do any of these other row movements. So when I go and do those, I feel what we should. So far feels pretty good. So happy with that. So get them a little bit toasty and then have it over there. So you're thinking with the lat, one of its main jobs is to extend the shoulder. So it kind of comes in and attaches at the front of your arm, wraps down under your rib cage and kind of goes towards your spine and towards your pelvis. So essentially pulling your arm down and that's the exact motion there. So pull downs, rows, they're all kind of pulling in that direction as long as they're somewhat close to the body. So pullover can be right. Again, in times gone by, I've always really noticed triceps when doing that, and I can still feel them a little bit there, and that might be a programming thing, but all in all, get them a little bit working. And now we head to a row that's excellent. So we'll go and show you that. Next up, single arm plate loaded row. So this one is bang on, kind of allows a really nice path to kind of pull straight in the pocket to really train the lat really well. So you could do this both arms at one time, but I find that single arm just feels that little bit better. So you lock in one arm, get your foot of the leg of the side that's working, lock that into place, and then we pull.
There you go.
So it stays nice and close to the body, big stretch out, pull. Thinking about the lat means keeping the arm nice and close to the body. So we're here, lock in, pull into the pocket, pull into the pocket. So for this one, arms close means lats. Later on in the workout I have upper back stuff, and that is when I'll sort of let the arms come away from the body a little bit. Here I do a top heavy set, 6 to 8 reps, and then drop the reps a little bit, about 10 to 15. So let's build up our weight and then we'll hit it. All right, and that's a single arm plate loaded low row. Still working some of these things out, so even things down to like rep ranges, how many reps I'll do on things, setup, all this kind of stuff takes a little bit of practice. This is the second time I've ever used this machine, so I think some of the key pointers I've taken away from this day is you want to get really locked in with the foot to kind of stop you from being pulled. And then you let everything stretch out nice and long so the lat gets this big stretch. And then you're thinking about driving your arm or your upper part of your arm back in towards kind of the rib cage area, and then repeat that. But again, these are just a couple of tips that I've kind of picked up from today that I think felt like they worked really well. So I'll write them down in my notes, make sure I know the setup. For this one, offer a few of my movements at the moment. I'm doing a top set or a heavy set, just to make sure I'm ticking that box. I don't usually like the heavier top end weights. I normally feel like more moderate weights feel a bit better. I feel like I can connect with them a little bit better. But again, making sure I'm at least ticking that heavy box in case there is some benefit to that. So one set heavy, and then go to my preference, which is a little bit lighter. And then for my follow-up exercises, kind of in that medium rep range again. All right, so nothing changes for the next exercise. Medium neutral grip pull down coming up. All right, next up we have a neutral grip pull down. So pull downs are synonymous with lats, but depending on how you do it, could make it a bit more latty or a bit more upper backy. So in the instance that I'm using this, I want to make it as latty as possible. And just like with the rows, if we want to go lats, we keep our arms pretty close to the body. So probably in this kind of position here. So I'll go, this one here is neutral grip about my shoulder width apart, pulling straight down as if they're going into the back pockets, because that's kind of where your lats are going, down and attaching to the top of the pelvis. Now, if we were to take an overhand, it's not that the lats won't work, they almost certainly have to work, but it also just allows potentially some of the other muscles to contribute, e.g. Your upper back, so your traps, your rear delts, rhomboids, things like that. Because now we have that kind of motion where our elbows are going that direction instead of that direction down. So for me, lats are best done in this kind of neutralish, well, tight grip, should I say. You can go overhand, underhand, narrow, about shoulder width apart. So this one has come through from the other program because there was no real reason to change. So I take the handle. The other consideration is to keep the knee pad as tight as possible so it locks you kind of into place. And then we pull down. And again, the idea, just like before, is I'm kind of pulling this part of my arm down and into the pocket along the line of the lat. So if you've ever seen a lat on like a muscle model, again, it touches at your arm, kind of wraps down in towards your spine and then down towards your hip or pelvis. And we essentially want to pull in that same plane to make it work the best we can. So we call that line of pull. Line the resistance up with what you want to train, and hopefully we'll get that to train the most. Okay, 2 sets here. Again, we're going about 10 to 15 reps. Has always been pretty good for these for me. So let's get after it. That's another one that's pretty bang on for me at the moment. So that neutral grip, right down in tight, feels really good. Slight lean back, feels really good for me, and that's on the money. Not too much I can think about changing there, so happy days. That's come from the previous gym to this one because it's been so good and I have no real reason to change it. All right, so exercises focus on the lats done. Now let's head to upper back, show you how we change that for upper back. All right, now we move into some rowing movements that target the upper back, or are more biased towards the upper back, should I say. So don't know this for sure, but anecdotally and logically, I believe that pulling movements that want to target the traps more have to go slightly up. If you think about how the traps are, they're kind of this diamond shape. So some of the fibers are angling in up towards the neck and spine, and then some go down towards the sort of mid to upper back area, but all angling in. But what you have is you have your lats, and most of the lats angle down. So lats come in angled down. So if we want to make things targeted more towards the upper back, we probably have to go up. Or we don't have to, but that kind of takes away some of the lats' ability to contribute because they're pulling your arm down. And for this, we're going up. So let me show you this. So I don't know what they call this, but it's kind of like a low to high row, and it feels excellent. So this is a plate loaded one. Resistance is good here. These are pin loaded variations of these are good as well. But essentially, grab the handles like such, squeeze shoulder blades at the back, let it all stretch out and squeeze. So again, we have this slight angle up, and again, upper back is just a little bit more lined up, better to go up. Whereas lats, they're mostly angled horizontally, if not down. So we can kind of get them to not work as hard here by taking the weight slightly up. They probably contribute a bit, but these, anecdotally and logically, that makes sense to me. There might be some other evidence out there suggesting that, but I quite like this version, and I think it's almost integral. So same, now that we're shifting over to upper back, I'll do a top heavy set, 6 to 8 reps. and then I'll back the weight off for 2 more sets, 10 to 15. So these next 2 movements are now biased more towards the upper back. First 2 lats, now we go upper back. Here we go. Very happy with that machine. Here's how I'll show you how good that machine is. The things that have made me happy in this life: meeting my wife, birth of my daughter, and then this machine is number 3. And I have to say the first 2, so I might get a hard time if my wife sees this. So, no, very good. Angles up. I think some potential things to keep in mind for a machine like this is that if your seat is too low, it'll become like a shrug. And that's cool if that's what you want. But if we want it to be like an overall upper back thing, set at a height that you can feel overall everything of your back, not just that kind of shrugging movement. We can do shrugs for that. This here is just generally across the upper back. But yeah, a nice angle, set the seat height such that you can feel your upper back, but potentially not just too much shruggy. We're gonna have that backward shrug or the squeeze of the shoulder blades is kind of what we're after there. All right, last upper back exercise. All right, for that upper back row, I banged on for however long about how the importance of the arm going up to kind of get the lat to not do a lot of the job. And now I'm kind of, how do they say, going against what I've said. But again, it's not that the the lat doesn't contribute. We're just trying to take it out of the equation as much. Now this one here, now we are coming on a different kind of angle. So it kind of comes horizontally and kind of dips down. And according to what I said before, going against what I said before, is that the lat will then get involved, but also there is some of the upper back that is angled down. So again, we're just ticking all the boxes, making sure we're getting, overall development. And yeah, potentially it matters. Potentially I'm banging on about shit that matters very little, but logically it matters. I have a rationale for doing it. It doesn't really, there's not too many downsides to making sure I'm doing things from couple of different angles just to make sure, right? So it's called a Nautilus low friction row. It's quite a unique machine. Again, this will be the second time other than mucking around that I've tried it. Feels good. I do use a yoga block between my chest and the pad to make sure I can get full range. So I go yoga block on here like such, or you can't see that, but yoga block on here like such, put my chest on it, grab the handles, lock in, let everything roll forward, pull and squeeze my shoulder blades. So some things I do not know yet is rep range, probably 10 to 15-ish is usually pretty good on back movements. Height of the seat, got to figure that out as we go. So a couple things to figure out and play around with. But on what I have done on here, it's been pretty good. So worth the play around. Okay. Couple minutes here and we'll be into set 1. So there's my second upper back row. Number one, we had that one that was coming from low to high. This one now comes in horizontally, kind of dips down. So we think about the upper back, or let's just call it trap specifically. We got this diamond sort of fanning out towards my shoulder, angling in towards the neck, spine, and then even some going down as well. So in that kind of sense, we have these pulling movements that both go up, and potentially some that have value in going down. Potentially not. Potentially they're all trained via that movement or this movement or whatever. But again, just to be certain, I have a decent reason to think that different fibers are working more or less, depending on the action. So do both in this sense, as long as the program allows it, the gym allows it, all that kind of stuff. All right, time to get some bicep action on. See you over there. Okay, some coach down fuck area about to go down. So this is going to be a lying elbow supported dumbbell curl or something to that extent. So what I want here is essentially get the back of my arms on this bench like such, and I'm gonna get my ass off, and then I'm curling through this position here. So my justification here for this kind of fuckery, in place, or what I was doing previous to this, was a decline lying dumbbell curl. Now, there's no decline bench here, that's number one. But number two, also, why this has some merits on its own rights, is for the elbow support. So with the decline bench, your kind of arms always been forced back there, and you're kind of always having to stabilize. Here, I can now plonk my elbows on the bench and just go to town. That's number one. Number two, getting into this position, as awkward as it might be, means that when I go to start the curl, I'm going up against gravity quite soon. So if you think about a dumbbell curl in this position here, we're curling like such. It's not really getting hard until I start to go up against gravity, or at least it's not as hard. So it goes easy, easy, hard, easy, easy. Here it's hard at the beginning, potentially the most growth promoting spot. So that's my rationale. Bit awkward to get into position. Might never be able to do too heavy weight, so maybe a moderate rep range might be the way to go. But that's cool, nothing wrong with that. Anyway, we'll give it a few sets today and then see how we go. All right, elbow supported, lying side on a bench, dumbbell curl. Don't know what we're going to call this one, but something along the line. But there is something to that. That's nice. So with previously being on the decline was good because my arm would sink behind the level of the body, get that massive stretch, and it would be hard at the beginning. This potentially has even more merit because we have some stability from the bench. So we can lock in on the bench and just go to town on the curling, not having to worry about the arm sinking behind the body. Do I have to choose one? Probably not. We could probably do both of these across time in different programs and stuff like that. But that feels real nice. So let's give that a go. That you don't see that one too often. So that's a bit of another Coach Dan abomination, if you want to call it that. Getting into position might be a consideration. So that was a little bit awkward. So get the dumbbells, kind of go roll one elbow, slide forward, roll the other elbow. That was a bit challenging. But yeah, probably not a heavy weight, maybe a moderate-ish weight. So getting into position isn't such a limiting factor. If it's a really heavy weight, you got to fucking slug, really get yourself in a position with heavy dumbbells. That might be a bit much. So sweet, happy days. I'm gonna rock that one for the next indefinite time. All right, let's break up the bicep work. We'll get a rear delt exercise in. My favorite, Okay. Some sort of rear delt pull across, we're going to call this. So it's coming from a high position to a low position. I've got a cable set up here. I don't exactly know that height yet, so I'm going to work that as we go. But essentially, I'm going to have it such that it's going to be really hard back here, and I'm going to have to pull my arm down in that position. So the resistance or the height of the cable we want to set such that wherever my arm is going, it's resisting me directly at that point, making it hardest at that point. So how I suspect this one will go is I'll grab the handle like such, arm across the body, getting into that kind of position there, and then coming down like such. Now, I don't really love training rear delts for some reason. I just don't know. So I do it because it's for the greater good, I hope. So I'm gonna go single arm. I was thinking about doing both arms at one time here, but I think single arm is going to allow for the path that I want on my arm. And I think that's about right position-wise. So to make this a little less painful or less time-consuming more so, I'm just gonna go from one side to the next. So I'll do this side, this side, this side, this side, almost like a superset. Bop, 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 bop. One side acts as the other side's rest. And hopefully that will make me cry less. So that's kind of the goal. All right, I've got to figure out what weight I'm gonna use, and then we smash it out. Alright, so that's my new version of a high to low pull across. So the rear delt probably has multiple functions, like taking your arm across like this, kind of in here like this, and it will work along with most of your back movements I would have to say like all of your back movements. So it's going to help contribute there. This is that isolation to cap things off. So you want to make sure that's a limiting factor on this one. Do you have to do it? Maybe you don't even have to do it. It's just an extra that I do for some reason. Fuck, stay here all day with this shit. Anyway, so some considerations there. I actually think, so on my right side felt good, left side felt a bit tricepy. So there's some potential to maybe make this lower and make it come a little bit more horizontal. And I might write that in my notes and then try that next week. But yeah, I like that I can kind of brace against this and get my arm to come back here. Big stretch across the body. I think that's quite a good thing. Yeah, but setup wise, maybe this to come just one notch down like that. And we'll try that next week. Easy bar preacher curl next. So using the easy bar has always been a favorite of mine. I was doing this in the other gym. So coming to this gym, I don't really have any other reason to change. Nothing sort of else I really want to be doing in place of this. One difference between the other gym is that that one was a seated version. This one, I'm standing. I'll reach down and grab the bar. Again, find the kind of kink that I'm after. Elbows on the pad. And then we go to town. So, preacher curl considerations, controlling the way down. Again, you probably don't want to really jerk hard into it because the thing about a preacher curl is it's hard when the elbow is fully extended. So we don't want to kind of jam against that for risk of injury potentially because the force is quite high at the bottom. So consideration, but that's consideration. That's how all technique should be in my mind, but particularly for this one. So we control, big stretch, feel it get nice and hard, contract from there, contract from there. 2 sets here and that's that. Alright, that is the easy bar preacher curl. Pretty good. I like having a bench here, like flies flying around. Again, for that stability. Can let you go to failure without cheating. You know, even if you don't mean to cheat on reps, sometimes when you haven't got that bench or that base of support, you find yourself using some body language to kind of get the action going. When you've got something to support yourself, you can't do that. So I'm doing easy bar on this day as a preacher variation and another a machine preacher curl on another day. This feels good. I mean, depending on you can do the curl bar, you can do a dumbbell, you do what feels good for you. I like this. I've always liked the easy bars. They've always felt pretty good for me. So we rock on with those. All right, fam, let's wrap up. That is a wrap on our pull/back workout. Happy with all that? So that's the first programmed one of that I've done. Again, last week on this day, I was just kind of feeling things out at this new place. So took a bit of practice, got my exercise selection right, I believe, and a couple of cool ones. So that lying down dumbbell curl, I think that's going to be a beast. So we'll smash those out. She's all good. So some other focus points I've had a thought of surrounding fat loss, guys, is planning ahead. So when it comes to fat loss, like when you're in it, there are some challenges, like it's hard to be hungry sometimes, it's hard to go without sometimes. So planning ahead, I think, has a lot of value. So you set a plan and then you just stick to the plan. There's no questions about it. If you trying to make it up as you go. In the times when you're not feeling 100% or 100, as the kids say, where I don't know if the kids are still saying it. Anyway, hundy. When you're not feeling hundy, the tendency is to kind of cheat or not do what you're supposed to. But if you have a plan ahead of time, then it's just a matter of sticking to the plan. So you plan it out. It's like, okay, so I'm going to eat like this, and I'm going to stick to that, and then I'm going to check in on the results or the outcomes. And we stick as hard as we can to that. Now, in the situation that the plan is not working, then we have something to change. But be diligent at sticking to a plan. That is really important. So if the plan doesn't work, but you've stuck to it, awesome. Now we just know we have to change the plan. If you have a plan, but don't stick to it, we don't know if it's the plan or something else that's the issue. So with that in mind, it's once you set a plan, you stick with the plan. That's that. There's no kind of, I'll just change this, set it, and then you focus on the outcomes. If the outcomes are what you want, then happy days. If they're not, then we know we just need to change the plan. All right, and remember, it's all about progress over perfection. Coach Dan, signing off.